Meeting come to order, please. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act for this meeting have been satisfied. Would you please deactivate all electronic equipment as we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Becker?
Here.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Here.
Commissioner Blumberg?
I am here.
First item for discussion is our forestry management presentation by Mickey Riggins. Mickey, would you come up, state your name and address for the record, and on the other side. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
If you want to come sit with us, you can.
That's okay. I'm Mickey Riggin. I am a certified tree expert with Arbor Care Resources located in Mays Landing, New Jersey. And we are currently developing the community forestry management plan for the Margate Green Team, Sustainable Green Team. And it's, go ahead and start. Okay.
All yours, Mick, sorry.
I'm assuming everyone got a copy of the management plan. If not, I have additional copies. Does anyone need one?
Here you go. I brought some.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I'd like that one.
Okay. This is a draft of, this is a review draft. This draft is incomplete. And it actually hasn't been reviewed for format and grammar corrections. But what this is the initial outline and the beginning of the management plan itself. We are still in the preliminary stages of this plan. If you look at the front cover of it and just go through the index on the first page, you'll see the overall depth of the plan itself. This isn't a plan for the Sustainable Margate Green Team. This is a plan, a community forestry management plan for the city of Margate for the complete planning, selection, maintenance, and overall tree care in the city of Margate on both residential, commercial, and municipal property. So this is a comprehensive plan that tries to incorporate all aspects of tree care into one comprehensive document as a 5-year management plan for the city of Margate. Each of the components of it outlines the different concerns and issues within the field of tree care. If you go back onto page 2 and just look at the outline, coming down to number 6 on that list, is we start with training. Actually, easier than that. Go to page 4 and you can actually see the page number 4 is the municipal information form. If you look at the bottom of that section where it talks about the community stewardship incentive program practices, this is actually the outline for the plan. And each one of these components in it is a separate component that deals with the maintenance and care of trees in the city of Margate. Training, public education and awareness, tree assessment and inventory, storm damage assessment, insect and disease management, tree planting, sidewalk maintenance program, tree ordinance establishment, Arbor Day activities, tree risk assessment, tree maintenance and removals, wildlife protection, tree cycling, stormwater management, and then an additional project that we weren't sure is going to be included and really be at the direction of the commission because there was concerns raised within the community was a potential the Memorial Parkway planning project, and we weren't really sure where that stood, but that had been discussed. That can be included in this plan or not, but that would really be under the direction of the planning department or someone. As I said initially, this is a comprehensive plan that is inclusive to all of the areas of tree care within the city, a small portion of that actually falls under the direction of the Sustainable Margate Green team. A lot of this plan is the work that is done by the planning department, by the zoning department, by public works department, and overseen by different bodies. If you go back and look at the second page in there, in the plan, on page 2, item number 4, is the Community Forestry Program Administration. All of the different departments and commissions are listed in the plan as far as what their interaction is in their relationship with maintaining the community forest. A lot of the responsibilities for maintaining the community forest falls under the planning department. A lot of the maintenance falls under public works department. All the funding decisions, fall to the commission. So this is a comprehensive plan. Obviously, the areas of emergency management fall under the emergency management director. And the only section that is not addressed in that plan that we looked at was wildfire protection, because it's not an issue in the city of Margate. So our goal is to review this plan still with the planning department and sit down with them to get their direction on this, review the plan with public works to get their direction on this, and then submit a draft to this body for approval to be submitted to the state. The advantage of submitting this plan, and the real goal of this plan, is twofold. The first goal, there's several goals. One of them is that it improves the safety of the trees in the city of Margate. Second, there's a certain level of immunity that is guaranteed because of the management plan being filed. The city then falls under the Tort Claims Act and gets a certain level of immunity through that, which is something the solicitor could explain more than I can because I'm a tree surgeon. But that is guaranteed within the plan. The other primary focus that most communities have with this is there's always a significant amount of funding that comes along with anything that's included in this plan. One of the reasons the plan is very comprehensive, and we try to include anything in this plan that would be a consideration for development in the next 5 years, is because there's funding opportunities for it, ranging from $7,000 to $30,000 on a regular basis, and for very large projects, they have funded projects up to, I think, $300,000. So there is resources available, and there's also training available, educational opportunities available, and different resources that can be made available to the community after the plan is adopted. So we try to make the plan as comprehensive as possible, and at the same time be very realistic. There's no sense putting things in this plan, and we've gone through this a couple times with the Sustainable Margate Commission, that there's some things that some communities want to add that aren't realistic in this community, and if it's not realistic in the city of Margate, there's no sense putting it in there. So we've taken as much out that we can that is not really within the scope of the direction that the city's going in, but any potential projects have tried to be included. Did I make it under 10 minutes?
I got 4 minutes.
All right. I'm not sure if there's any questions or...
Any questions for Mr. Riggins? Rich?
Yeah, what I heard partially from what you said was that you want to coordinate with 2 specific departments, one being planning and zoning and the other being public works. And if that is so, I can arrange to have 2 people designated, and I would suggest that you kind of meet together with those 2 people, you and whomever is from the Green Team, to go over whatever your concerns are and get their feedback on the plan.
Yes.
So if
I'm assuming Monica Coffey is going to coordinate that. She was going to contact you, and we were going to try to arrange a small work group to sit down with both Public Works, and we discussed it with briefly, and also with the planning board to go over some of the issues with them.
if you get in touch with me, I'll be glad to do that for you.
Thank you. Yes.
Anything else, Mickey?
No, I think that's it.
Anybody have any questions for Mr.
I'm
Reed?
a-
I ask him one question?
You certainly may.
Yes.
Could you contact me sometime near Margate? I salvaged the trunk of a very old tree, which I believe is an Atlantic white cedar that had a girth like this. I begged the guy not to cut it down, but he had a right to. I have portions of it at my house. And I don't know if it's really Atlantic white cedar, but it was straight as an arrow, 65 feet tall.
And there's only two trees that look that way, would be the Atlantic white cedar and the red cedar, which is actually a juniper. You would know when you cut it down. Atlantic white cedar and the largest ones were mostly harvested and removed over the first couple hundred years of civilization here.
We
That
had
tree is,
one that had to be here before this city was created, and it was cut down unfortunately a couple of years ago on Osborne Avenue, right near your house.
yeah.
And if you're in Margate sometime, I'd like to show it to you, just give you an idea of what you think the age was. You know,
I will, we take a look at it, and there is a market for it. There's one, we can talk afterwards. Yeah, there's one sawmill that actually deals mostly with Atlantic white
We
cedar.
have about a
Shire's
dozen
Nursery.
reds
Shire's,
that are over 100 years old in this city now.
yes.
And his brother and I talked about it. Thank you. for
Yeah,
being here.
Go ahead.
just one note, I believe this commission has already approved the funding for tree inventory to be done by a Stockton student through the Sustainable Margate Green Team budget.
It's not
That
been
is-
approved yet. I think it's
Okay,
been
because, yeah, he's ready to start the project as soon as he gets a final approval. He's going to be leaving
approved. Well, why
soon.
don't you explain to the commission
Okay.
about that?
Okay, I wasn't sure we were.
2 minutes for that.
In the process of developing this project, one of the key components of this is to do street tree inventory, and it can be done on different levels, but the decision was to go ahead and start doing a complete tree inventory because of the size of Margate. It made better sense to just utilize the funding to go through and do a tree inventory. The advantage of that tree inventory is it will give us the species diversification and the age diversification and the open tree planting site locations throughout the entire city, so we can start building some of the other plans. And a lot of how you develop some of the tree risk assessment and the sidewalk and hardscape assessments is really going to be based on what the tree inventory shows. In the process of doing that, the chairperson of the Green Team located a college student who had just graduated from Stockton, who had the knowledge and resources available to start the inventory. We sat down with him and went over the scope of the project, outlined the details. The software is provided through the forestry department, and it's a very elaborate software system that he can use that is downloadable by anybody, and we can start doing that tree inventory as soon as possible. The approximate cost, and I forget the number, but I think it was around $3,000 or $4,000. And I think, I don't know if Monica's here? Yes. What was the, how much?
Not to exceed 5,000.
Oh, not to exceed $5,000. We approximated the number of trees at around 3,000, but that was a very approximate number, just in doing an initial assessment. So the cost of the project would not run over $5,000. We would prefer to move on this project as soon as possible because he's going to go get another job soon. And it's much easier to do the tree inventory while the leaves are still on it to get a positive identification on a lot of the trees you have here.
Okay. Anything else?
Do you have a phone number? Can we
Pardon me?
contact- Do you have a phone number you can contact you?
To contact me or him?
You?
Oh, me? Our business number is 609-476-1080.
Thank you.
And it's Arbor Care Resources. That's actually on the paper, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Reed?
I think it's a
Thank you.
great idea.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bring-
Thank you for
to
your
bring
time.
Maury and John up to date.
Thank you.
There is some money in Public Works that was put aside for this use, so, you know, if it's
Have you
approved, we
seen
do
the
have it.
proposal? I don't know that I've
We,
seen it.
we,
We have.
we don't have a written proposal, do we?
Okay.
Monica, do we have a written? Can you get us a written proposal?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
So I would be good with it.
I'm good, okay, okay.
There's grant money for all that stuff, right?
Not for that. No, they want to get it done now, and there's money. Okay, all right. Commissioners are unanimously in approval, but we need a proposal, okay? Thanks, guys. Next, we have Mr. Warren Stillwell. Did I get it right, Warren?
Yes, you did.
He's representative of Verizon.
Thank you. I'm here because Verizon is in the process of deploying a project which they call Outdoor Distributed Antenna System. The acronym is ODAS, and what it consists of is Verizon placing an antenna, one antenna, on top of existing telephone poles. There is a statutory scheme that permits this in New Jersey. Anybody with the consent of the owner of a pole, so it could be Verizon or Atlantic City Electric or Comcast, Xfinity, et cetera. Anybody who owns the pole can enter into an agreement with a third party to place equipment on that pole. If the third party placing equipment on the pole is not a licensed public utility, such that they have a franchise agreement with the city, then they're required to get the consent of the city before placing equipment on the pole. Consequently, we need the consent of Margate in order to place our antennas and equipment on the pole. We have previously provided a package of material that described what it was that we were proposing and showed what it would look like in terms of the equipment. And I also have with me an exhibit that would be attached to any proposed resolution that details the site for the 16 proposed nodes. These nodes in the city of Margate would all be on existing telephone poles, existing wooden poles. That's not always the case. Sometimes we have to put in a new pole, but I have been advised that in Margate that the 16 proposed are in fact on existing poles. So it means there'd be very little in the way of additional infrastructure improvement. Mr. Abbott has been to a seminar that dealt with this specific topic, and he knows a fair amount about this. In the original package of material that was provided to the board, there was a proposed resolution of the commissioners of the city of Margate. The city of Margate, in order to grant their consent, could do it by resolution, which I think is the preferred way, or you could do it by way of ordinance, which is more complicated. But that, in essence, is what we are proposing. As I said, the equipment would consist of an antenna and a box of equipment that's usually placed on the pole at least 12 feet above the ground.
Can we see what,
Go ahead.
can we see what that looks like, what the equipment would look like?
Sure.
That was part of that.
This
I didn't see that.
if you would give that to Mr. Amadeo, and then everybody else. I'll have
Scott
six.
asked me, and I agreed.
Yes.
Send it to planning.
Oh, and these two.
We're gonna do it by subcommittee. Option.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Stillwell.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Dean, let me explain to you. Please. Okay, so Warren has been calling me and emailing me, but I know we want to do this by subcommittee. But he said, can I show up and at least get it
Joe.
moving for it? I said, well, you can come to a public meeting, here it is. I take responsibility for it. I told him to get the ball rolling. I understand you want to do a subcommittee. I think the number one question in talking to the commissioners is, what's it gonna look like? Show us photographs. Where do you want to put it? What does it do to our service? And I know you're sort of under, Mr. Stillwell's sort of under the gun too. I take it from your client pushing, which, and we'll work with it, but I understand it has to be a subcommittee. He's gonna give us photos. It's just to try to get it, the ball rolling. I think-
Scott, that's all fine, Scott, but we made a decision here in the spring to come back, for him to come back after Labor Day. It is after Labor Day, but he was supposed to go, we have Fred and I spoke as much as today. We have Chief Wolfson, And we have a group of people, and we asked Mr. Stillwell back in the spring to tell us where he's got these so we can go look at them. And part of it is not just looking at pieces of paper. We want to go look at what they look like. We also have a chance to meet with Longport and Ventnor and decide together how it affects the island. And I have no problem with him coming here, but if he's going to bypass the system, I'm going to be against it from ground one.
He's not bypassing.
I'm not looking to bypass the system. We
then-
only want to work with you, however you want us to do that.
But let's ask one question. Is there anywhere we can see these?
We haven't built any in Atlantic County, meaning Absecon Island. We just got approval from the city of Atlantic City to do 42 nodes in Atlantic City. We have requests pending in Ventnor and Longport. And but I would be able to provide you with photographs and/or video, and I would be able to provide you with locations of the closest ones that have actually been built.
Well, I think that's what you were talking about.
And that's fine. I'd be happy.
We asked him for that last spring.
Well, I know.
Okay,
We all want to.
all right. Thank you, Mr. Stillwell. You understand where we are. Scott, you're all right. Rich, you're okay? You, okay.
Just so he understands what he has to do. He's going to give some location. Then there'll be a subcommittee that'll be with you.
That's fine. And in terms of who I provide that information to,
You go to Scott.
pardon me?
Scott, you're on the committee along with Fred and along with Chief
Wilson.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you.
All right.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we're going to do department head reports, and Mr. Deeney, why don't you lead us off?
I have something quite pleasant to talk about. We met yesterday as a staff, first one after the summer and the operational season. And I asked 3 questions just to get us started as a staff meeting yesterday. And I want to just share a little bit of that discussion. One of the questions was, name one work event, activity, or circumstance this summer that gave you satisfaction. The second was, name a person you encountered this summer at work that inspired you in some way. The third was, describe a personal work accomplishment this summer that was important to you. And I just asked them to consider one of those 3 questions before they spoke about their departments. And the reason why I want to bring it up today is to illustrate the breadth of experience that we have, that you know, but I want the public to know that I work with every day. These are some of, in 1 or 2 words, these are some of the responses. One person was very pleased with the outcome of the summer, considering the way we started with problems in front of the Wawa over Memorial Day weekend. And with the cooperation of the police department and Wawa, we had 0 problems for the rest of the summer. And being that we talked about that publicly here, I think that that's a nice accomplishment and good for the city of Margate. Another person was very pleased with the $3 million grant that we have with Longport and Brigantine and the progress that we've made and helping people in Margate to raise their homes. The entire $3 million is going for, allocated to those 3 towns for helping people raise homes. And we are well underway with that process, and we expect to get continuing grants. And a lot of that is due to the CRS program, and because of our level of CRS, where we already get, I believe, a 25% discount for every single person who has flood insurance in Margate, which takes a lot of work to do that on an annual basis. But because we're at that level, we were eligible for this $3 million grant, and a lot of other municipalities were not eligible. That is something to be proud of, and I'm glad that was mentioned. Another person mentioned the festivals and fun fests and summer beach stock that we have here, and the work that the people in Margate do in the community, MBA, and what they do and how proud they are of being part of that celebration and that activity. Another person talked about inter-office cooperation and also mentioned a particular individual who I'm going to name because he thought that he's kind of a treasure for Margate, and that's Frank Teenan. And how he works with one of our offices on a regular basis, brings in photos, and talks about the historic nature of our community and things that we're losing through the change of people taking structures down and so forth. But the fact that he is kind of a treasure in our community that sometimes is underappreciated. Another person talked about the Historic Museum and the work that was done and how proud they were of the ceremony that we had earlier this summer and the exhibits that are rotating in that, and the people from the library that have worked on that. And I think these were really well thought out, given that they had no advance notices with respect to their answers. Another person mentioned their sympathy, so to speak, for the citizens who are still struggling because of Sandy and are still not all back in their homes, and that people have struggled financially, and we're certainly seeing that now with other parts of the community, other parts of the nation, but it's still going on in New Jersey and it's still going on in Margate. Another person mentioned the courage and strength that we get from working with one of our employees, Bill Walsh, and his courage and marching forward with all of his things that are going on in his life. Another person mentioned the court case that we've had, the number of court cases that we've had, but in particular the one in which a whole room full of people from Margate went and supported our attorneys and our commission and sat all day in Camden and spoke about their loss and their concern and their feelings with regard to what happened on the beaches this summer. And that was a very moving experience for some people, including the person that mentioned it. Another person mentioned the dedication of all the people that worked on this project here and how long this took ever since Sandy to get this building back to where it is, and the fact that people worked together over this extended period of time. In order to close on this subject, I'm going to read you also an email that I happened to get yesterday, and it rivals in its own way those other responses. And it was addressed to me with copies to Johanna and Fred, and it said, "I thought you might be interested in what we were able to accomplish last year with your support. We prepared 110 tax returns in the 7-week season, 106 for the 2016 tax year and 4 for previous tax years." And this is from the woman who represents the AARP that has worked with our city over the last 2 or 3 years to be able to get space in our current municipal building to be on once a week through the whole quarter, the tax season, in order to prepare for free tax returns for people who aren't able to do that on their own. 16 clients were under 16 clients were under 60 years old. 94 were 60 years old or older. The oldest client was born in 1918, 99 years old. The average adjusted gross income for the people that participated was $24,982. They submitted 76 refunds totaling $69,000 for these people. It's just another way in which things are happening because people in our government work together to make it happen. It's not part of any job description. It's not in the labor union. It's not in civil service. It requires people to come in early or leave late or set up or take down. It's not something that's in our department. It's not in the no ordinances or laws or anything else, but here we were able to help 100 people with an average income, adjusted gross income of less than $25,000. Sometimes we get so caught up in process that we forget what we do on a larger scale. And so I wanted to mention that to you, and these are the people here and others that are not here today that happen to reflect that, and I hope that they will share it with the people that work with them and for them. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich, as always. Ed, why don't you go next?
Okay, there's not a lot of construction going on, at least city-wise, right now. We do have a few projects out to bid or being authorized to go out to bid, and we'll see some construction starting this fall. Tennis courts 5 and 6, we're going to reconstruct to try to eliminate the reoccurring problem we have on those courts. And we will be going out to bid on the next state aid project, which is in the budget for construction this fall. So we'll be going out for those. The gas company repaving or / main project, we're still receiving complaints from a few residents, and we've also found a few issues, so we're continuing to work on that. But for the most part, that project is complete. I believe that's pretty much it. It's a short report.
Ed, we're back to Nicholas.
Okay. I didn't know if we were going to do that next. The only thing that isn't on my engineer's report, which we spoke of earlier, and I talked to my staff today, we will be going out to bid. We've identified the valves that are necessary, the Tyflex valves, to try to address a regional flooding issue down there in Amherst Avenue and what we refer to as the Risley's Cove subdivision. There's 3, possibly 4 valves that we will be replacing. A proposal is coming for that to go for the fees to go out to bid, and I've met with the red valve people to determine the best replacement valves for those pipes, and we're actually going to have a lunchtime seminar for them to bring the latest technology that they have to our attention. So we will address that, and when we sit down to do next year's budget, we'll identify another drainage area to replace more valves in the city, because we have 23 of them. We've only replaced 2 of them recently, so it's they're in excess of 15 years old, and they are at the end of their useful life.
Okay. Thank you, Ed. Roger?
Thank you, Mayor. Ed, I hope we get some CEUs for that lunchtime seminar. I can use them.
Sure.
Planning board meeting on September 28th at 6:30 in this room. The pickleball courts have been really used this summer. That's a good addition to the city, I think, up until 8 o'clock at night, until dark. And inspections and applications have been coming in consistently, nothing slowing down yet. So that's nothing further, Mayor.
Roger, thank you. Jimmy?
Hey, Mayor. The moratorium for the demolition is up on the 15th. That's next Friday. So there's already a lot of talk about a lot of buildings being torn down. I think there's one on Jerome and Ventnor Avenue that we may need to have a little bit of site work done prior to them being able to build that building. They want to, Frank and I are working on getting those infrastructures in, sewer line, water line. So I'll keep you abreast on that. We're down 35% on rentals and sales this summer. A lot of people called, wanted to know where the Dune project were, and they never called back. So we couldn't tell them where they were. So we would say you just have to come down and look. But we're down by at least 35%. We're still busy, and we're looking forward to what Roger's got on his desk. I'm sure he's got a lot. So we can't take any permits till the demolition moratorium is up for building permits. We don't want them to start tearing a building down prior to that 15th. That's all I have.
Thank you, Jim. Scott?
Couple items, Mayor. Of course, the biggest item would be the beach litigation, and we have management conferences scheduled both with the federal judge, September 15, and the state superior court judge, September 25. These are status conferences. As you know, there's been a lot of effort moving forward on the drainage plan and the resolution of all of our differences with the Army Corps and the DEP. We do have some things to discuss if we could go into a closed session having to do with that litigation. I really can't go into detail on a public record at this time about it. So I'd ask that you put this into an executive session today, preferably. So we
We
can
will
discuss
do
it.
that at the end of our 5 o'clock meeting.
All right, great. And the other thing is, I had received the memo from our city administrator regarding some of the projects, and I know one of the projects I've had the opportunity to speak with both Roger, Ed to a degree, and Jimmy, is some of the zoning aspects, some of the issues we want to try to clear up. I've already started to compile some possible zoning amendments, maybe enhancements is the better word. I know that Roger had made some comments to me too. So we are starting to move forward on that, and now that we're past the summer season, I think we can really do some focusing on it. Hopefully we can have I think we're going to have a committee or something meet on that, and be great. That's what I have.
Thank you, Scott. Fred, how about you? Anything this week?
Yes, I do.
Hey, turn it off.
The geothermal system for this building has been running on one pump. We had an analysis done on the pump failures, and we found out a lot of good information. So I moved forward with the company that does our well replacements, and we're ordering specially made pumps made for submersible salt water. So the pumps had been ordered. They're about 4 to 6 weeks. So probably in about 2 weeks, we'll do a replacement to the geothermal pump here, and we'll also do a reconstruction on the 2 wells that are here, and that should clear up some of the mess that we have with the geothermal system. Following that, I'll probably do some analysis on the internal workings to try and get some things leveled off in the building as it relates to the new pump and motor. And so that'll be coming in the near future as one of the items that Rich had asked for from us in our staff meeting. Secondly, during the summer, we had the opportunity to, like we always do, to use our speed radar signs out on the street to measure speed and the average number of vehicles going up and down the streets. What I've found is that those signs, being probably 12 plus years old, had needed some recalibration done to them, and even to the point of replacement of 2 of them. So the 2 had just come in this week. They're brand new signs. They have updated calibrations on them. They do a whole host of additional things other than the older signs do, including taking photos of vehicles that we determine are above a certain speed limit. So I am currently in the process of trying to get those calibrated for our system here, and I expect that in the next week to 10 days they'll be ready to go up and probably tested by me first to make sure that they're working for what we need here in the city. And then once that's approved by our police department, we'll be ready to use them out on the street. And that's about it for right now.
Thank you, Fred. Johanna?
The clerk's office is running smoothly. Everything's going right along as it should, and I have nothing more to report.
Chief?
Mayor, Commissioners. First, I'd like to just, Rich reminded me of something when he was talking about the meeting yesterday, and the fire department's been working in cooperation with the Historical Society and the library, and we are going to exhibit works from the Historical Society in the firehouse, things that they don't have room to hang on a limited basis. We just hung a Margate Fire Department banner, I think that dates back to 1907, that was restored by the restorers that they use in Philadelphia, who actually restored like George Washington's tent. It's a beautiful piece. They're going to make some literature to hang alongside of it, and once we get more up there, we're going to let everybody know, and you're welcome to come and see it anytime. It'll be in there on a revolving basis, and we're really honored to be able to do that with them. Also, I'd like to remind everyone that on Monday it is September 11th, and we will have our annual 9/11 ceremony right on Ventnor Avenue in front of Station 1, as we do every year, at 10 o'clock sharp in the morning. It's a relatively short ceremony. I'd say maybe 15, 20 minutes, with the local dignitaries saying a few words, some songs, prayers by local clergy, and a lot of reminders of what happened that day so we never forget again. And everyone's invited. We'd be glad to have you there. And the last thing I wanted to report was on the beach patrol end, starting Sunday, September 10th, the following locations are the beaches that will probably be open. These are subject to change by Chief Smallwood. Claremont Avenue, Huntington Avenue, Knight Avenue, Decatur Avenue, and Madison Avenues. So if you do go to the beach, make sure you check and go to a guarded one. A lot of guards are going back to school, and there's a limited amount of people to work right now, but he's doing a great job of covering that. So
Is that on our website, or can you get it on our website?
it's on there. It's on there, and it's also in the current. Okay. That's all I
Thank you,
have.
Nanette. Thank you, Tony. Lisa?
Hello, everyone. Just a few things. It's time to prepare and submit the annual best practice questionnaire as required by the state. I have not begun to complete it yet, but I will send it out for review to Rich, and it will need to be an agenda item probably the first week in October. I'll make sure I send Johanna the information, and it's due, I believe, around October 24th. There's 25 questions this year. It was reduced by 5, and they're all, there aren't any new questions on it this year, from what I understand. I met with our closeout specialist from Widow Bryan in regards to the Hurricane Sandy projects. This project at City Hall is the only project left to be closed out. So I had provided him with approximately $600,000 worth of costs that hopefully will be reimbursed at least 90% for. We had approximately $2.3 million obligated in funds, but the costs did exceed that by a few $100,000. But he seemed confident that they were eligible costs because, you know, at the time the funds are obligated, it is based on estimates, and he's confident that we should be reimbursed. But they are scrutinizing every little detail, which I've been trying to keep excellent records of. And hopefully, Widow Bryan, that's the contractor who was hired by the state to close out these projects. Their contract is up with the state in November. So hopefully, you know, he'll have these things completed by then, but everything was in order. I'll keep you posted with that. Started scheduling our health fair, our Down Beach Health Fair this year, and just marked the date. It's going to be October 24th at the Municipal Building. We are going to be holding it in conjunction with Longport and Ventnor again. It's always a fun event. I think employees look forward to it, and I will be sending out more information on that. I received notice that we were approved for a $10,000 grant for that fitness court through the National Fitness Campaign. If you recall, a few meetings ago, I had mentioned that they had contacted a few municipalities in the state of New Jersey to construct these outdoor fitness courts, about 38 by 38 in size. The total cost is around $90,000, less the $10,000 grant. I think it's great. Andrew Miles is going to take the lead on that and assist me. But the email came through a few days ago, and I need to respond to them by email within 10 days if we're going to accept the grant. It's a reimbursable grant. It's not something that they send us, but I would first need your authorization to proceed with that. And I know it's also contingent upon funding being on our capital budget, which I don't anticipate there being a problem. So
We're all good.
okay, thank you for that. And let me see what else. Oh,
What was the location going to be for that? Do we know yet?
well, Andrew had in mind at the Jerome Avenue field that they prefer a site that's visible to the public, to traverse. But I know that when I had mentioned it, you said you were looking into a miniature golf course.
Right.
So when I spoke with Andrew yesterday, and he said he was going to be speaking with you and factoring in that in mind. Now, keep in mind, this isn't, a large area, so even if it wouldn't be feasible to have it at that old, I believe it's the old T-ball field, then I'm sure there can be another location that we can find. It really doesn't matter to me. It would be up to you to determine, I guess, along with Ed, to see,
Could the park
you know.
on Huntington by the library be utilized for it? Because there's space there, right? Right.
Yeah, I guess we should, have a meeting to discuss. We could talk about it the next,
But we're
capital
all
meeting.
agreed on principle to move
So,
forward.
okay, that's fine.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, because then they have, would be an opening day celebration. There would also be a fitness court app so that you can track, the participants could track the activity that they would do. There's a mayor's fitness challenge. I'm not sure what's involved with that, but I could see you do some chin-ups.
That's just another
or
day in my
pull-ups.
life.
And there's also some social media promotions that they would be utilizing,
Okay.
which would be great for the city of Margate. Lastly, I just wanted to give you a status update on the post-Sandy grants. I could provide as little or as more information as you would like. As you know, the city had been awarded funding. There were 7 projects that were involved. 4 were awarded to Remington Vernick, and 3 were awarded to Ponzio and Associates. Each of the grants were $50,000. To date, we have expended what the city has paid in invoices to both firms that were awarded the contracts, $281,000. We have been reimbursed so far for 3 of them, $113,719, and we have outstanding receivables from the state of $149,790. The receivables that are outstanding are for the 3 projects that were completed by Ponzio. Initially, I was contacted by local planning services that those funds had been deobligated and they were not going to pay us. I had still submitted the invoices requesting their consideration, and I believe Scott had reached out to them again, urging their cooperation at this point. And I was contacted. They asked for additional information. I checked the status again this morning, and it does say that they're pending for those 3. So it's my hope and my belief that we will be reimbursed for those, but we have not as of yet. And that's where we stand with that. And then hopefully we can cancel any unexpended balances within those grants. We do still have some outstanding invoices we have not paid, but that I will need to discuss with Rich to see how we're going to proceed with that.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
So, thank you.
John?
I'm good, Mayor.
Mike?
Yes, I just have one thing, and for me, again, it's a thank you. I like thank yous. I want to thank Rich for sharing the report that he shared with us. Margate in the summer is not easy. It taxes our employees, each and every one of them, including our department heads. So I want to thank them, the department heads and all the employees, for the extra effort that they give in the summertime to make Margate what it is, great. And I want to ask everybody that's listening and everybody that's here, this summer especially was a tough summer for us with all the work that was going on in the beach and all the negative publicity that the town suffered. If you can, support our local businesses. They had a difficult summer, and they depend on the summer for their livelihood. So if you can make an extra effort to go out to dinner or go to one of the local shops, please do it. For me, the end of the summer is bittersweet, but I will be happy to see the lights go back to flash. So thank you. That's all I have, Mike.
Thanks, Mark. I'm good also, so at this point, we'll open the public comment. As usual, 3 minutes on any of the subjects that were talked about here today. Please come state your name and address at the microphone. We're lining them.
My name is Daryl Carasella. I live at 9002 Monmouth, which is directly across from the pickleball courts. When we bought the house in 2008, at that time there was a school across the street, so we knew what we were buying. We were buying a house with a school across the street. When we started this summer, the pickleball courts, as far as I'm concerned, got totally out of hand. The noise is constant. My door is right across from the courts. You can hear times 3 courts, and usually there are 2 more temporary courts. It goes from 8 o'clock in the morning until sundown at night, and there is 60 to 70 people at a time cheering, at times cursing, and it has totally disrupted my life. I mean, I love my house in Margate. We spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars for the house. We pay a ton of money in taxes, and we were not even informed by anybody that this was going to happen. We were not given the courtesy of saying that this is what we plan. What do you think? I know it's municipal property, but it's also right across the street from my front door. My bedroom is in the front of the house. My family room is in front of the house. And it is a nightmare. I can't even sit on my deck outside because you hear it's a hardwood racket and a wiffle ball, and the noise is just ridiculous. A couple of weeks ago, they had a tournament, and then there was even more people there, and they had food. And it was a big party. But I don't understand why we had to have that across the street from our very expensive houses. You said you were thinking of putting a mini golf course. Why couldn't you put the pickleball courts where the tennis courts are? Somewhere around there. In fact, my husband rode his bike over there. They're like empty. I don't understand how this came to be. Maybe you can explain it to me. My next problem with the pickleball courts is the parking. if I take my car and leave at any point, I can't get a place to park. It is annoying as hell. I'm going to be really honest. So I know that they're there. I know that I don't have a right to park in front of my house, even though I think I do. And my time is up.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm going to ask the Recreation Director to look into this and see if there's any way we can get you any relief at all. Okay? Thank you.
Sewell, 22 West Drive, following up on the remarks of Richard Deeney, Jim Galantino, Scott Abbott, and our illustrious Commissioner Blumberg concerning the dunes, the beaches, and that never-ending federal litigation, well over $250,000. $250,000 added up, Commissioner Amadeo, you'll see that I am more than correct. Squandering money, but the time for action was long ago when the mayor was undecided and his running mate was gung-ho for those dunes. And because that valuable window of opportunity was blown and wasted, we're now saddled with dunes. They are the mayor's baby. He created that baby. And he has really stuck it to the citizens of Margate and the taxpayers who have seen their property values plummet. And if we go according to what Jimmy said, a 35% drop in rentals, the economic impact has been disastrous. So I think it's time to seriously look forward, not backwards. Doesn't pay to look backwards now. The damage is done. But the future damage, with the solicitor being gung-ho for the lagoon dredging, somehow can't make the quantum leap that you can dredge those dunes to 50 fathoms deep. But if all that long-poured sand silts up the Egg Harbor Inlet, he's not going to get his yacht out to the ocean.
My yacht?
Your yacht.
Have you ever seen it?
Yes, it's a dinghy. It's a dinghy. But he won't even get that tiny dinghy over those.
Actually, the one I saw has a paddle.
Yes.
He sits on it.
He's environmentally conscious. He's part of the green movement here in Margate. But the point is, while you people sit on your hands and sit on your brains, Mayor, the opportunity, the golden opportunity to continue to lobby forcefully, both federal and state, for that master jetty to prevent the silting of the great Egg Harbor Inlet. That's going to be a critical factor. If you recall, Commissioner Amadeo, there was a towboat operator who was killed by hitting a sandbar in that great Egg Harbor. And that man knew the place like the back of his hand. Now, if he was killed due to the silting up of the inlet, just think about the amateurs who are going to die going forward. What are their lives worth? And I strongly urge this commission to get on the stick, start pressing 100% federal and state officials for that master jetty. Mayor, it's 9 seconds. I'll give you a countdown. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you, Mayor.
John, I just want you to know I'm very upset.
Oh, I imagine you
That
are.
of your 3 minutes, you've really got me only down to a minute, and you normally beat me up for a minute and a half. So
Well,
I don't know what.
Next, up to the 5 o'clock, Mayor. Get your preparation A train.
How you doing? I'm Brian Teasdale. I live on 305 North Wilson Avenue. Just trying to go back on these valves that you talked about. Apparently, you said 2 were replaced recently.
Within the city.
Within the city.
Within the city, but not ours.
Not your area.
And when was it replaced?
About a year and a half ago.
Okay, so that's not recent. It's a year and a half ago.
No.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. I mean, we've been waiting for a while now. Hang on, I got the time. I only got 2 minutes, right? I only got so much time. I'm sitting here looking at some of this stuff. I don't know about you guys, but you're talking about Sandy and how everybody got hit real hard and everybody really cared, And
And we're getting hit every time we get a big storm. And you don't seem to have the same kind of urgency. You know, these valves aren't that expensive. I did my own research on them. You know, you can get them for $7,500, 24-inch one. I don't know exactly what size pipe you got out there. You get one for $7,500. If you need to get a barge, it'll cost you about $25,000 total. You got no problem throwing an extra $80,000 into some kind of fitness program, or agreeing to go look at it, but you haven't gone out there and done anything about our valves. Okay, we need them now, not in 6 weeks. I don't even want the newest, greatest thing. We want something that works now. Okay, I don't care what the new stuff is out there. The old ones have worked for 20 years. We need something in. You know, you get the hurricanes coming. You know, I can't impress you upon you guys more. And not only that, I don't know if you guys even have it. You need a maintenance program for this stuff. You know, a planned maintenance program for these valves. Okay? This is what holds the whole city together. You know, you can kiss everything else goodbye if it keeps flooding. It undermines the new streets. Every time you flood up the street, it's going to undermine the street a little bit. You know, you go through trees, like, you know, the harbor guy. What do you think salt water does to those damn trees? I mean, seriously. I mean, it's one of the primary concern of our town, and it seems like it's the least important. You got no problems putting in a new, you want to redo the tennis courts. You got no problem putting something in for that. You know, going out for bid. We can't seem to get out for bid for 2 valves that are necessary that have been failing consistently for the last 2 years. We've had FEMA out there, okay, twice since Sandy on our street. Yet it's slow moving on the valves, but anything else, hey, it's great. We can do it. I mean, it's getting frustrating. You know, I don't know where the priorities are. I'm not saying you guys are all off, but sometimes I think people get wrapped up in the big things that bring people in and forget about the things that are necessary and very important, especially because we live on this island. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thanks.
It's not these guys.
Ed, microphone, please.
It's not the commissioner, it's my fault. And I will make sure that I get this done immediately. We have to go to bid. We cannot just purchase them because it exceeds the public bidding threshold. So we have to go to bid. And we can't just do 1 or 2. We have to do enough of them so that the drainage area is served, not just that one pipe. Because if we don't, it's just going to come from another direction.
I understand. There's two on that.
But there's more than 2 in that drainage area.
Okay.
It goes down Amherst Avenue, it goes up Vendome Avenue, so we've had to identify the drainage area. It's not them, it's me. I'll take care of it. I've given them my word, I'm gonna take care of it. And we will go out to bid as soon as humanly possible. And the valve, because each valve has to be engineered separately. We did look at the Joe Boland's valves. They don't work because our lines are too deep.
Okay, so they have to be dug out. Okay.
And, you know, the amount of head over that valve exceeds the design factor on that valve.
Okay.
But we will take care of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Richard Schulman, 8609 Amherst Avenue, Margate. I'd like to get an update from the commissioners and from the engineers on the dredging project. A number of us who live on the lagoons in the bay have some concerns, and I'm aware of the fact that all of you are aware of that. And but we've been told various things, and I'd like to just get some general information and find out who a good contact person would be.
We're going to ask Scott, Mr. Abbott to do this.
Excuse me?
Which street?
8609 Amherst.
He's between around Nassau.
The Orient Lagoon
Yeah.
on Amherst. Right.
Well, we're going out for creating proposal now, I believe, Ed, is that what you're gonna do, to implement a citywide dredging permit?
Right.
One of the big hangups has always been, what do you do with the dredging material?
Right.
As you probably have seen, some of the other cities have been spending many millions of dollars to dispose of dredging
Right.
material. We have several options that we've been pursuing for the past 2 years. I know it's very slow, it drives me crazy too.
Mhm.
Hopefully we'll get at least the permit application in before the end of the year. We're trying to come up with a suitable location. There's really 3 options. Truck it away to Cape May, which makes it about $100 a cubic yard. Put it back in the bay, which could conceivably Shoulder Bay Cove, which I think is the Army Corps' preference. The Army Corps has come around to our thinking that we put it back in the bay where it came from. Or the third one would be to remove it to redevelopment sites. You may have seen the paper recently, Scarborough's doing something over in, right now in Pleasantville. All these processes will be expensive. The regulations from the state of New Jersey have made dredging very, very difficult. Recently, there was sponsored legislation to got rid of the shellfish habitat rule, at least I believe it does, unless they interpret it in a different way.
Right.
And now we have to deal with some of these other regulation obstacles. But that will be part of a dredging application. I don't know when that permit will actually be submitted in the state, but I'm optimistic that it'll be before the end of this year. That's what our goal is.
Great, thank you. Just to throw a couple other things out, and I understand that you've been on top of this for a
And
while.
I know your lagoon is particularly bad. I'm over
Right.
Orion, not as bad.
I know you do the evening surveys, I know.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
we have
yeah.
all the bathymetrics, we've
Right,
got the
sure.
depths, hopefully that
Yeah.
they'll be accepted by the state. But we've got the three
Yeah.
lagoons are in big, bad shape,
Right.
and then along that whole Fulton Avenue area, and then the other one
Right.
down by the marinas,
Right.
there. We desperately need dredging.
Well, I-
Unfortunately, other states, it's very easy to accomplish. In New Jersey, it's very difficult to accomplish.
We were actually out on the dock the other day, and the Stockton University boat was doing samplings on the floor outside of our place, and then I saw a second boat off of Shoulder Island doing,
Yes.
so I know that it's
all
ongoing.
related
This is
to
all
our
part of,
efforts
all
to
part of our permit, right.
We're using
Right.
Stockton because they're local, we
Right.
thought that would help.
Right.
And it's good with the DEP.
Would it
And I
be,
think even the DEP now is becoming a
Right.
bit more cooperative.
everything seems to be coming together.
I hope
We're
so.
hoping.
We'll
Right.
have to find them.
Right. What about funding?
Oh, there it is, that's.
Yeah.
Can I address that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This commission approved an ordinance earlier this year, sir, for, I believe, upwards of $2 million, between $1.5 and $2 million to apply toward eventually dredging. So there is enough funding to go through all the permitting, and depending on what method is chosen, I mean, it can cost anywhere between $50 a yard and $100 a yard, depending on what
Sure.
method. And obviously, we're not gonna jump into $100 a yard if we don't have to, so. But there is enough funding contemplated in this year and next year's capital plan.
Right.
Okay.
And I didn't have a chance to get my 3 minutes in, only because everybody else was
That's why we're letting
speaking.
you go. I heard, but
Yeah, so I just
one
have
more
a couple,
question.
just a couple of other things. The other thing was, will there be some declaration or place where we can get information as to the progress 6 months from now or whatever? And the plans?
Let me answer. Yes, in fact, is what we would like to do, once we get it
Right.
rolling,
Mhm.
is have it on our website so people can
Great.
look at it and see
Wonderful.
what's going on. I think the commissioners are in support of that, right? I would
Absolutely.
think.
Pretty much we put everything on.
Right.
Everything
Well, that'd be
will be
great.
on
And
place.
so
Okay.
we, as private slip holders, can work, as they did in Ocean City, with the dredging company to pay for for them to do our slips.
Exactly right. At
Good.
Ocean City and
Correct.
Avalon.
Right.
It worked
Okay.
very well.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, well,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you all
Thank
for
you.
your attention.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Take care.
Art Cotilli, 114 North Lancaster Avenue. I have a cheerful note about the dunes for all those who are upset with it, and I have a real sad prediction. I got confirmation from our mayor that he got a guarantee from the Army Corps of Engineers that they will hold up in a storm for 45 minutes. This to me sounds like we're not going to have dunes, as we're approaching, I think, 3 storms out there. And I think they'll be longer than 45 minutes. So we may not have any dunes to worry about. But the sad prediction is we've succeeded to in raising the sand height above the height of our bulkheads. So I strongly feel that we are going to fill all of our beach blocks with sand after these storms hit. I know when I was a kid, I used to have the sand hit me in the legs. And then when I built a little wall to hold the water back, it started hitting me in the chest. And now I think we're going to go over, and I think we've experienced it on Sandy, how it went over the bulkheads. So I suspect we're going to have 3 storms that are going to, I guess, maybe, I don't know how fast they're going to hit each other or hit Margate, if they do. They're going to pile a lot of sand, so we may want to look at that possibility and see what we can do. Maybe we might even think of somehow raising the bulkhead height, or I don't know what to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Warren. Any other public comment? Is there a motion to close public comment?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes.
Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes.
We will reconvene.